Dr. Panidurai, Rajaji, மற்றும் மேடையில் இருக்கக்கூடிய நண்பர்களே, I am definitely going to make it bilingual to make sure our friends also from outside Tamil Nadu and also from outside the country try to understand a few things that I will be sharing. ராஜாஜியை பற்றி அவருடைய குணாதிசயங்களை பற்றி எல்லாம் கூறப்பட்டிருக்கின்றன. அவருடைய பணி ஏன் தேவை என்பதை பற்றி பேசப்பட்டிருக்கிறது. அவருடைய வாழ்க்கையிலிருந்து ஓரிரு உதாரணங்களை மட்டும் நான் இங்கு இருக்கக்கூடியவர்களுக்கு தெரியாதவர்களுக்கு தெரியப்படுத்துவதற்காக கூற விரும்புகிறேன். ஓரிரு நேரடி அனுபவங்கள், certain personal experiences of having been with him. Everybody here has been speaking about Rajaji in India, Rajaji's marches, etc. I'll come to the march. But what has not been done here is that he is not only our figure, he is an international figure today. And not because of the yatra that he undertook, which had to stop because of the COVID, but because Gandhian communities, EKTA Parishad communities are being created across the globe, being inspired by this person called Rajaji. And I think that is important, including Geneva, where this friend from France is here. Your friend Milun is in Geneva. He's got a lovely community in Geneva. Once I happened to be in Geneva for some human rights meeting, and I knew that Rajaji was there, and I had never used my pass in Geneva, the bus pass that is usually given to travel free. That was the first time I used the pass really well, because I had to travel to the house where he was, and that was the border of France on one side. It took me at least 2 hours. And when I went there, அங்க போகும்போது வெவ்வேறு நாடுகளை சார்ந்த people from different countries in Europe, who all belonged and who all stand by Rajaji and Rajaji's principles, were all gathered in that house. And I had the privilege, I hope Rajaji remembers, I was with John Samuel that night and was able to see the passion with which Rajaji had moved people from different countries to be his followers, to be his stewards, to act along with him and to act in solidarity with him. I think that was something very, very special for me, and I thought this should be shared with many of us here, because this is not only within the country, this is also from outside the country. And he is revered by several people who are very close to me, whose names I don't think we need to share at this point of time. We both have a common bed. We sleep in Brussels. Brusselsல அவர் போய் தங்கும் வீட்டில் அவர் எந்த அறையில் தங்கினாரோ அதே அறையில் நானும் தங்கக்கூடிய ஒரு வாய்ப்பு உண்டு. The same room that he used to stay in his very close friend's house in Brussels is the same room I go when I stay in Brussels. People who share the ideals of Gandhi, the ideals of non-violence, but moving forth the ideals of a movement of ordinary people for their own rights. That is Rajaji. I want to also publicly share and follow what Dr. Panidurai said. Let this be a moment for introspection. And with all humility I say, we engage in a lot of protests, lot of struggles. We win very few, we lose many. When I had the pleasure of walking along with him, or walking along with the 1 lakh, that was the 1 lakh march, I learned something which is a lesson for my life. How a human rights activist handles the police, and how the peace activist handles the police. I don't know whether Rajaji remembers that. நீண்ட மணி நேரங்கள் நடக்கிறோம். அந்த கூட்டத்திற்கு பின்னே வாகனங்கள் வந்து கொண்டிருக்கின்றன. அந்த வாகனங்களில் வந்து ஒவ்வொரு வாகனத்திலையும் 1000 பேருக்கு சமைக்கக்கூடிய பொருட்கள் அந்த வாகனத்தில் இருக்கு. பெலிண்டா has already narrated that. முடிந்து ஒரு இடத்தில் நிறுத்தி அந்த வாகனத்தில் இருக்கக்கூடியவர்கள் அந்த 1000 பேருக்கு சமைக்கக்கூடிய பணியில் இறங்குகிறார்கள். இதெல்லாம் ருட்டீனாக தொடர்ந்து நடந்துகிட்டு இருக்கு. டெல்லிக்குள்ளே உள்ளே என்டர் பண்ண வேண்டிய நேரம். This was the time when we had to enter Delhi and there were negotiations and this was pre-2014. So you know what I'm talking about. So they had confidence that they will be able to stop him without entering Delhi, because if this 1 lakh entered Delhi, Delhi would be in a problem. And I had the best experience of my life to see how a peace activist who is a very deep human rights activist handles the police. I would have never handled the police like that, I can tell you, Rajaji. I don't know whether you remember that night meeting with all policemen sitting across. And that is exactly my learning from him. That there are different ways to handle officials who want to terrorize you and stop you with their power. But the power of this man with 1 lakh people behind him, that 1 lakh peaceful people behind him, 1 lakh people who don't raise big slogans, peaceful people behind him, was able to convince the police, which I would have never been able to do, never, was able to, because of his power of non-violence, been able to enter Delhi. He succeeded in entering Delhi, and I think that is the victory of a peace activist. And I want to publicly acknowledge this here, because I think that is the strength that he has in himself. Rajaji is known for something else that we don't celebrate sufficiently. This is a day for celebration. He may not like the celebration, he definitely doesn't like the celebration. But we are celebrating your life. We are celebrating your proud achievements. He is a political person, and that is something that we refuse to see. We conveniently see the convenient parts of his life, but we don't go to the tough parts of his life. And I think it is time for all of us to know that in the last elections in Uttar Pradesh, and I don't think this needs to be a secret, Rajaji was living, in spite of all the risks, he was living in Uttar Pradesh. Uttar Pradeshil இருக்கக்கூடிய மிக சிக்கலான தொகுதிகளில் உத்தரப்பிரதேச தேர்தலில் போய் நிற்பது என்பது எவ்வளவு சிரமமான பணி என்று தெரியும். அந்த சிரமமான உத்தரப்பிரதேசத்தில் நான் கண்டிப்பாக தவறாக தான் கூறுகிறேன் தெரியுது, குறைந்தபட்சம் 2 months, I'm sure it was more than 2 months, but stayed, moved from constituency to constituency in the way that Belinda mentioned earlier, just to see that there is some politics in this country which has to be opposed, and he stands with all of us in saying that politics has to go from this country. If we want peace, if we want non-violence, you cannot have communal hatred in this country, you cannot have hate politics. Rajaji is clearly on the side of being standing against hate politics. Madhya Pradesh, Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh, இந்த மாதிரி பகுதிகளில் அவருக்கு ஆயிரக்கணக்கான மக்கள் கூடுகின்ற கூட்டங்கள் வருவார்கள். இந்த சில மாநிலங்களில் தேர்தல் நேரத்தில் அவர் காணா போய்விடுவார். நீங்கள் புரிஞ்சுக்கிறீங்க நான் என்ன சொல்கிறேன்னு. அங்கே இருந்தால் சிக்கல். காரணம், அந்த சாதாரண மக்கள், எந்த சாதாரண மக்களுடைய உரிமைகளுக்காக, அவருடைய நில உரிமைக்காக, அவர்களுடைய வாழ்வாதார உரிமைக்காக அவர் குரல் கொடுத்தாரோ, அந்த மக்கள் தேர்தல் நேரத்தில் யார் பக்கம் போக வேண்டும் என்ற காரணத்திற்காக இவரை பக்கத்தில் வைத்துக் கொண்டால் வசதியாக இருக்கும் என்று அந்த பகுதிகளில் இருக்கக்கூடிய கட்சிகள், those parties used to be after him. Those were the days, if there was an opportunity to be outside the country, Rajaji used to choose to be outside the country because that was so difficult for him. So don't ever think that he is a non-political personality. He is perhaps much more political than any of us here, because he plunges himself in politics that has to change this country, and that is the inspiration. People like us, when he said he was going to Uttar Pradesh, I said, what a risk Rajaji you are taking. And I told it to him right in his face. He said it has to be done. Taniyaga seyya maatar. He never does it alone. he does it along with a group of people. We don't need to name others, but I think it is important to know that that group is some of the most important people in this country who think differently. நம்ம கூட்டத்தினுடைய தலைவர் நம்மளுக்கெல்லாம் அந்த மாதிரி வித்தியாசமாக சிந்திக்கக்கூடியவர்களுக்கு ஒரு பட்டம் கொடுத்து விட்டார். ஆகவே அந்த பட்டத்திற்குள் வரக்கூடியவர்கள் அவர் போல் இருக்கக்கூடியவர்களுடன் இணைந்து ஒரு தேர்தலுக்கு முன் பல இடங்களில் அரசியல் ரீதியான மாற்றங்கள் கொண்டு வருவதற்கு பணி செய்யக்கூடிய ஒரு தியாகி தான் ராஜாஜி என்பதை நான் இந்த நேரத்தில் கூற கடமைப்பட்டிருக்கிறேன். நான் இன்னும் ஓரிரு விஷயங்களை மட்டும் நான் கூறி செல்ல விரும்புகிறேன். எங்களுடைய நான் சார்ந்திருக்கக்கூடிய அமைப்பு, மதுரையில் இருக்கக்கூடியவர்களுக்கு அறிந்த அமைப்பு, கடந்த 10 ஆண்டுகளுக்கு மேல் மிக சிரமத்தில் இருக்கக்கூடிய ஒரு அமைப்பு. யாருமே யோசிச்சிருக்க மாட்டீங்க, ராஜாஜி இஸ் அவர் ட்ரஸ்டி, ராஜாஜி இஸ் அவர் ட்ரஸ்டி. People's Watch, which is being followed by this government and perhaps the last few days of the previous government, Rajaji was our trustee, and I want to publicly acknowledge, thank him on this occasion. This is the sacrifice he makes. It is making people like us who are in very difficult circumstances strong by his physical presence with us. I have other co-trustees here. We have all come here because we want to celebrate your life, celebrate your leadership with us, celebrate your solidarity with us. And being with us means being against a Ministry of Home Affairs. Being with us means definitely being against the CBI, which had occupied our territory, our office for one whole year, and are now coming as visitors. அது போன்ற பணிகளுக்கும் இது போன்ற ரிஸ்க் எடுக்கக்கூடிய பணிகளுக்கும் தொடர்ந்து பக்கபலமாக இருக்கக்கூடிய ஒரு தோழர் ராஜாஜி என்ற இந்த நேரத்தில் பெருமையாக கூற விரும்புகிறேன். இதெல்லாம் அவரை பற்றி பொதுவாக பேச மாட்டார்கள் வெளியே. ஒரு நெருங்கிய நண்பராக, எங்கள் அனைவருக்கும் நெருங்கிய நண்பராக, குடும்பத்திற்கு பக்கபலமாக இருக்கக்கூடிய நண்பராக, சிவில் சமூகம் எப்படி வாழ வேண்டும் என்பதற்கு எடுத்துக்காட்டான ஒரு முன்மாதிரியாக இருக்கக்கூடிய ஒரு 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 வழிகாட்டி தான் ராஜாஜி என்று பெருமையுடன் இந்த நேரத்தில் கூற விரும்புகிறேன். ஆகவே நமக்கு 2024 ஒட்டு to 2024, our march towards 2024 is something that we will all be waiting to see what Rajaji will pave as a task for us, because 2024 is a task when leaders like Rajaji have to lead in front, lead along with a number of people in front, and ensure that all of us don't go back to our houses, don't go back to our Android phones or whatever phones we have and say we will watch politics here. 2024 is the time when we follow people like Rajaji and ensure that this hate politics, which is anathema to peace and non-violence that we are talking today, is upheld. Manipur is burning. We cannot have a better witness of non-violence in this country than what we see in Manipur. And if there is non-violence that is visible, that visible in the European Union by the European Parliament passing a resolution 2 days ago, but unfortunately our Prime Minister is still maintaining his silence. I think these are the moments in history when we need people, need leadership like Rajaji to go in front. And of course, people like all of us here gathered will definitely follow steps. So this is not to felicitate you for an award which you will definitely punish us privately for doing that. We came here to celebrate your life, which is the model for us, and to assure you collectively, not me as a person, but all of us gathered here, that we will follow your footsteps. We will try to follow your footsteps. Following your footsteps is also very, very difficult. So we will try to follow your footsteps, and we look forward to the plan that you will emerge, that you will emerge with a number of your friends nationally to see that 2024 doesn't end up being what the Prime Minister of this country will want, and all of us will be together to see that we will ensure a real, peaceful, non-violent, secular country that we all relish. Thank you.